After days of tension and calls for calm, Israel's response to Iran's unprecedented drone and missile strike appeared carefully calibrated to avert a wider war. Iran activated air defense batteries in several provinces early this morning. There were reports of explosions near an airbase in the city of Isfahan, where Iranian state TV said 3 drones were shot down. The city is close to several important military sites, including the Natanz nuclear enrichment facility, which the International Atomic Energy Agency says was not damaged. And the reaction from Tehran was very muted, as our foreign affairs correspondent Secunda Kamani reports.
Flashes in the sky above Isfahan as Israel launched its much-anticipated response to Iran's missile barrage last weekend. Everything is fine, was the message across Iranian state media. Isfahan is in complete peace, this reporter said this morning. Officials talked of several small drones being intercepted close to an airbase after being launched from inside Iran. Iran had threatened to retaliate to any Israeli attack. Instead, the regime has been downplaying it. At a state-backed protest, the message was clear. Iran has come out on top. No further action required.
Last night you witnessed that if suspicious flying objects appear in the country's sky, they will not be spared from being the target of our power's defence. Thank God there were no major issues.
An Iran-linked media outlet released these images of what it said was wreckage of Israeli missiles found in neighbouring Iraq. Israeli officials haven't commented at all. The strike shows they are willing to hit Iran directly, but it's clear this wasn't the major escalation many had feared. At the G7 in Capri, there was no doubt cautious relief. International leaders had been pressing Israel to act with restraint, fearful of a regional war breaking out.
You saw Israel on the receiving end of an unprecedented attack, but our focus has been on, of course, making sure that Israel can effectively defend itself, but also de-escalating tensions, avoiding conflict, and that remains our focus.
This cycle of reciprocal strikes began with Israel killing several senior Iranian commanders in a consular building in Damascus. Then on Saturday, Iran launched 300 missiles and drones at Israel. The attack was unprecedented, but also carefully choreographed. Warned ahead of time, Israel and its allies were able to shoot down nearly all of them. Concern switched to how Israel would react. The two countries have long engaged in a murky, at times secretive battle, often fought out by Iranian proxies like Hezbollah, and unclaimed Israeli strikes on sites in Syria, or even assassinations inside Iran. Seema Shine is a former senior Mossad officer specializing in Iran.
Fair to say that this episode is now done and dusted?
I hope so. I think Israel has done something that was, how should I put it? It was elegant, but still very military forcefully.
Have the rules of this shadow conflict that's been playing out between Israel and Iran for many years now changed?
There is a potential that they have changed. We don't know yet. I think this was the reason for Iran to attack Israel. They wanted to put a red line and to say no more after a long time that they didn't do it. The question will be put on Israel's side when we will have to decide whether we attack as we did in the past. Each time Israel will decide to do something, it will have to think twice.
Iran might tout this clash as a success, but it's underlined just how weak it is militarily compared to Israel. The embattled regime may well conclude its best defense lies in developing nuclear weapons, a move Israel will be determined to prevent. Well, here in Tel Aviv tonight, the atmosphere seems very relaxed. No real concern amongst ordinary people about the possibility of Iranian retaliation. Of Of course, just around an hour's drive south, the situation couldn't be more different in Gaza. More than 34,000 Palestinians now said to have been killed in Israel's assault, according to local officials there, the vast majority of them women and children. The intensity of Israel's bombardment has somewhat decreased compared to earlier stages of the war, but we're still talking about dozens of people being killed every day. And the threat of an Israeli invasion of Rafah is still very much there, despite international criticism, including at the G7 today. The US Secretary of State Antony Blinken saying the Biden administration continues to oppose Israeli plans for a major military operation in the southernmost city, where more than 1 million Palestinians had fled seeking safety.
Sekunda Kamani in Tel Aviv. Well, Benjamin Netanyahu's ban on Israeli government interviews this week is still in force today. Joining me from Tehran is Professor Mohammad Marandi, who was previously an advisor to Iran's nuclear negotiations team. Thanks for joining us. Can you explain Tehran's reaction? There has been an attack by Israel, and previously the official line had been the tiniest attack would elicit the maximum response.
Well, there was no attack. There were just 3 drones that didn't come from abroad, and they were struck in the sky. They probably were from somewhere inside Iran. Iran is a huge country. It's the size of Germany, the UK, and France combined. So nothing came in from Israel. And I think that is, to a large extent, contrary to what your colleague said, because of Iran's power. The Iranian strike on Israel...
But it was clearly an Iranian attack. I mean, even if it came from inside Iranian territory, it was an Israeli attack, and that's been confirmed by the Italian foreign minister at the G7 summit.
Well, I think it shows the utter weakness of the Israeli regime when they won't even take responsibility and they won't fire missiles into the country after making such big claims. The fact is that after the Israelis hit the Iranians hit them hard. I know that you said that the Iranian attack was not a success, but it was actually the exact opposite. Iran sent 200 drones, roughly, the numbers are not exact, very old drones. None of them had any of the new technology that Iran has. And then when after 3-4 hours when they reached Israel, they sent a series of missiles, some older and some were newer. And all of these drones and older missiles were cheap, dirt cheap, and they were decoys used to gather intelligence and to force the Israelis and the Americans to use up all their surface-to-air missiles, and they succeeded. The Israelis alone spent $1.35 billion on their missiles, and I think the Iranian attack probably costed $15 million. And then the key missiles that the Iranians sent, about, I don't know, 10 to 20, hit the 2 targets, the air base in the south and the intelligence gathering center in the Golan Heights. And they...
I mean, let me just come in here for a second, just because obviously, you know, the precise success or otherwise of both attacks is disputed by both sides. In fact, there's a report out of America tonight that there may also have been an Israeli missile strike on an Iranian target, and I'm sure that will be disputed and argued over as well. But the bigger point is that both sides are playing this down, and isn't the truth that both sides do not want to escalate right now? Would you say that an overt, open war has for now been averted?
Well, first of all, if the Americans say a missile was fired, they have to tell us where it was fired. It landed somewhere. And Iran did not play it down. They have been ridiculing the Israeli attack all day. They've been saying it's pathetic. And but the Iranians never wanted an escalation. It was the Israelis, as you rightly pointed out earlier on, that initiated the attack. They attacked the embassy, and when the UK, the US, and France and the UN Security Council effectively support the Israelis and prevent them from being condemned, let alone punished, for killing people in an embassy in Syria. They violated Syrian airspace. They bombed an embassy and killed people, including locals. And the US, the UK, they supported Israel. And then when Iran retaliated, they imposed sanctions on Iran. That's the upside down world that the collective Western elites have created for us.
Professor Morandi, thank you for joining us. Well, earlier today, I spoke to Rafael Grossi, the Director General of the UN's nuclear watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. And I began by asking how concerned he was that there had been a strike near one of Iran's nuclear sites.
I appealed the previous days for maximum restraint, and I can say that, albeit really concerned, there was some relief last night when our teams in Iran confirmed to me that there was no immediate damage to the site.
Iran has also said, though, or warned rather, that it too could target Israeli nuclear sites. And yesterday, the Iranian military suggested that they could look at revising their own nuclear doctrine. What did you understand by that?
There is an increasing tendency of involving or factoring in nuclear installations in armed conflicts. It is absolutely illegal. So this is one first point. But what is more concerning is that there is a certain normalization of this kind of bravado and talk about using nuclear weapons. You even remember that in the beginning of the Gaza crisis, there was somebody saying that perhaps this could be solved by using nuclear weapons. This is completely unacceptable. Loose talk about throwing nuclear weapons or attacking nuclear facilities, it is absolutely irresponsible, and it cannot be accepted.
Were Iran's attitude to change and it decided to pursue a nuclear weapons program again more actively, how far away is it from having a nuclear weapon?
We do not have information pointing to the fact that there would be an ongoing nuclear weapons program in Iran. What we see there is a number of activities, some of which are relevant and possibly related to other developments, like, for example, enriching uranium at an extremely high level, 60% in this case, very close to military grade, which is 90%, without an immediately recognizable purpose. They must know that this is raising eyebrows. So what we have told them, and I will try yet again to persuade them that it is in their absolute interest to be transparent. They should allow our inspectors to get full access. And this is part of the effort which I am going to try to tackle very soon.
Director General, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.